This week, I did a breakdown of the 2008 gold medal game against Spain, the Redeem team. It's out on my Patreon now. I had a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of takes about it, but I think at the top of them is Dwyane Wade. You may not like how he moves off the court or post-career. Probably got to put a little more respect on his name, myself included. He was 26 years old in the '08 game, and I'm sure a lot of you watched the Redeem Team documentary, and you know how heroic he was in that gold medal game, man. But like watching it again in its entirety, there's an argument to be made that in his prime, like that first year in Miami and that phase when he was 26 years old, he was LeBron's equal. He was LeBron's equal. And obviously his body didn't hold up, right? The durability was the issue with Dwyane Wade, but his clutch gene, his feel, right? And you talk about athletes, he might be a top 10 NBA athlete, at least of this era, in his prime, because there's all these different attributes that come together, and you talk about speed, quickness, strength, power, verticality, and then you combine that with the feel for the game. And that's the thing that's so unique, I think, about both LeBron and D Wade is rarely do you get a level 10 athlete with strength, quickness, agility, power, and all of the above, checks all those marks, and has that type of feel for the game. It usually doesn't go hand in hand. And both with Wade and LeBron, you got that. And watching him in that game and the way he was jumping passing lanes and getting downhill, I think a big part, though, of the durability was the fact that he absolutely sold out going downhill, right? Like once he got downhill, slash, the flash, whatever you wanted to call him, and he de-whistle, right? But there was a cost to all those free throws he shot and his willingness to put his body on the line downhill. But watching that made me think even more about today's guys and Edwards. We all see the Jordan comp like physically in the face and some of the movements, right? But really D Wade is the true comp to Anthony Edwards. They have the same body and they have the same physical attributes. Now, hopefully Ant can have a longer prime as far as durability goes. And I think what will help him that way is the three-point shooting and much more of a jump shooter than D Wade was, right? And so hopefully that can lead to his longevity. The other take I had was watching Olympic Melo and how efficient he is catching and shooting. That's who Jason Tatum needs to study. We all know Tatum loves and idolizes Kobe Bryant like so many players do. I get that. That's fine. But athletically speaking, he's much closer to Carmelo Anthony than Kobe. Like you watch some of the shots Kobe would attempt and take and the things he would try to do. That's for a level 9, level 10 athlete that Jason Tatum is not. But just the efficiency in Melo, catching it within the dip and going right up. And that's who Tatum should study. But I have a lot of takes about that. You can check that out. It's on my Patreon right now. Speaking of the Olympics and the main subject of this video, we also know that '08 Olympics was where the big three was formed. Bosh, Wade, and LeBron, right? And there's been kind of a long history of this. This is where the star players bond, relationships are formed, and eventually that's where the first ideas start of, hey, let's team up. We'd play really good together, you know? And I think we've all thought about somehow reuniting Steph with KD, right? And then the Booker-Steph bromance that I've seen all over social media. I mean, us high yellows, we got to stick together, bro. I'm telling you right now. Nah, but that was cool to see. But I know the Dub Nation is a little frustrated with LeBron and AD flirting with Steph, right? And kind of trying to recruit him to the Lakers right now. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because you think Joe Lacob is going to let Steph Curry play for the Lakers? Nah. All this is going to do is going to apply more pressure to Mike Dunleavy in the front office to be more aggressive in finding Steph a second star right now. Now, whether that ends up being short-sighted and a good move or not remains to be seen, you know? But I think it's just going to apply pressure. And it's funny how different the discourse could be right now when it comes to Steph, because the first few games over there in Paris, right, it was looking rough. I had the video, what's wrong with Steph? I was talking about the FIBA ball and, his endurance at the age of 36 years old. And then basically in 30 minutes of basketball, Steph said, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. And Joe Lacob was thinking the same thing. I had talked about this on a patron pod last week, right? Like, I think for a lot of us, we're kind of waiting for the inevitable moment of like, oh, Steph, is this when Steph starts to look mortal? Because it's going to happen, right? And I think, and Joe Lacob's waiting too, let's be honest, right? You got to, and so those first couple games, it wasn't grounds to panic because of the environment, but it was like, oh, this doesn't look good. And then Steph, again, the golden dagger, and that performance against Serbia. And now the discourse is you have to find him a second star or he's going to go to the Lakers or whatever it is, right? What if we are entering one more prime phase of Steph Curry's career, maybe the final prime phase, the golden dagger era? And again, a few weeks ago when he was struggling, I talked about, I looked up a study about 35, 36 is where endurance athletes start to see a decline in their muscle endurance and cardio and all that. So what if Steph paced himself a little bit more throughout games and then took over and closed out? And this was, again, the final form Steph, the final golden dagger era phase of Steph's career. And, he paced himself better. LeBron's been doing it really since he's been a Laker. You know what I mean? But the problem is this Warriors team has to be good enough to allow Steph to do that. And that's been the issue the last couple of years. He hasn't been able to pace himself. But that's my big takeaway from the Olympics. It's like, yes, Chef Curry still got it, right? But he's got to pace himself a little more at this point, right? In order to do that. And so how do we do that? Again, he ain't going to the Lakers, right? That would take some sort of, they're having fun. These you do realize these players like to troll us as well, right? As far as the Kuminga thing goes, let me put it to you like this. Let me frame it like this. Like, I have no doubt that Kuminga can become an all-star, right? But let me ask you this. How many all-stars over the last couple of years that you'd consider an all-star could we acquire right now today and it would make us an immediate contender? There's some, right? There's some, but there's a ton that it wouldn't. Right? And so my point is, Kuminga could very well become an all-star. Is it going to be in time, and is it going to be enough? I understand the other side of it where it's like, hey, you're going to mortgage all this, and will it be enough? Right? So it has to be the right move. But I think that Steph's performance certainly has him leaning that way. And if that doesn't happen, right? If the Serbia game doesn't happen and that fourth quarter doesn't happen, again, what are we talking about today? Leaning into Moses Moody? I don't know. It's funny how things like that work out, right? Now, as far as Andrew Wiggins goes, for those of you that haven't heard the news, canceled his trip to China. This is about a week ago. Or, you guessed it, another family emergency. You guys probably know how I feel about this at this point. I've said it over and over again. Look, you can have your privacy. You're not going to get my empathy as well. You can't have both of them. That's just me. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm not saying that's how you should feel. That's how I feel. And to be completely honest, at this point, Zach LaVine don't sound too bad to me. His Baki knee and his low basketball IQ at this point, we'll see. Underdog Fantasy, as always, has been the strongest supporter and sponsor of this channel. And I've had a ton of fun playing the games last season, whether it was football, MMA, and of course, basketball, giving out my picks. We're going to start some fantasy leagues here. I haven't played fantasy football in a while, but we did the basketball. NFL is here, right? And right now is probably the best time to sign up if you haven't already, because you can use the code Alchemy. Link is in the description. You're going to get a 50% bonus on your first deposit now, up to $1,000 with Underdog Fantasy. And so we're going to get it rolling here. Again, WNBA playoffs, NFL is right around the corner, and then the NBA is going to be here As far as the content goes, I do some light Niners coverage on the Patreon until the Warriors season starts up. But I can't complain, man. The off season keeps us fed, whether it's just rumors, trolling, and speculation. You've heard from Slater and some of these people that cover the team closely that the Warriors may try to be active headed into training camp, more active than they typically are. And so we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, right? As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.